Hello, hi students. I hope you all are doing well. So today we are going to start with chapter 6, that is respiration in organisms. So इस chapter में हम समझेंगे कि respiration किसे कहते हैं, what is the meaning of respiration, and we will also learn about the different parts involved in breathing, as well as the different parts responsible for respiration. So we are going to learn about respiratory system or the respiratory organ of our body. And lastly, we will also understand how the different living organisms are able to respire. So let's get started. So ये जो chapter है ये start होता है with Buju. Do you all remember your friend Buju? So one day Buju was eagerly waiting to meet his grandparents who were coming to the town after a year. So it was a long time Buju wait कर रहा था अपने grandparents के लिए जो उससे मिलने आ रहे थे. And he was in a real hurry as he wanted to receive them at the bus stop. So उसे bus stop जाना था and वो बहुत ही जल्दी में था. He ran fast and reached the bus stop in few minutes. He was breathing rapidly. You all must have observed, जब हम दौड़ते हैं, whenever we are running fast, we breathe faster, right? So Buju was also observing the same thing. As he ran fast to the bus stop, he was breathing rapidly. His grandmother asked him why he was breathing so fast. Buju told her that he came running all the way, but the question got stuck in his mind. He wondered why running makes a person breathe faster. As you all must have observed, जब भी हम दौड़ते हैं या कोई भी physical activity करते हैं, our breathing rate increases. The answer to Buju's question lies in the understanding why we breathe. So in order to understand why we breathe faster when we run, we have to first understand why do we breathe. So breathing is a part of respiration. We often confuse breathing and respiration. So whenever anybody asks you, what is respiration? We do not say that it is breathing. Okay, taking enough oxygen, giving out carbon dioxide is breathing. Respiration is a whole different concept. Okay, so today we will be learning about respiration. So first thing, let us understand why do we respire? Why all the living organisms, not only humans, ना ही सिर्फ इंसान बल्कि जितने भी living organisms है सब respire करते हैं. Everybody respire. Okay, it is one of the very essential life process. So let's get started. So why do we respire? In chapter 2, you learn that all living organisms are made up of small microscopic units called cells. You all must have remembered this, right? Hamara body एक small microscopic unit से बना है, the fundamental and structural unit of life, that is the cell, the smallest structural and functional unit of life. Now, each of these cells of the organism, they are going to perform certain function. Like, for example, they are going to perform nutrition. Nutrition matlab, it is a process by which the organism will take in the food, okay, and will drive energy from it. Next is transportation. So, हमारे body में जितने भी essential nutrients हैं, gases हैं, जैसे कि oxygen या जो भी waste है, वो हमारे पूरे body में transport होते हैं, okay? That is transportation, and usually blood transports it. Next is excretion. Now, all the nitrogenous waste, जितने भी हमारे body में waste generate हुए हैं, उसे हमें अपने body से निकालना पड़ेगा. So that is excretion. And finally, reproduction. In reproduction, an organism will give birth to a new organism of the same kind. Same kind matlab cat will give birth to a cat, dog will give birth to a dog. Okay. So ये जितने भी functions है, these are performed by cell. So these are some essential functions that are present in all the living organisms that are performed by the cells. So to perform these functions, cell needs energy. अब इतने important functions cells को perform करना है, cell को कुछ तो चाहिए in return, right? So the cell needs energy. And even we are eating, or we are sitting and studying, or we are sleeping, we do require energy. अब सबसे important question आता है, where does this energy comes from? Anyone, any idea, like where is this energy coming from? Well, we get our energy from the food that we eat. Now you can understand why your parents keep insisting you to eat regularly, so that we can drive energy from our food. Okay, so our our food supplies our body with constant energy. So the food has stored energy in it, and ये energy release होता है during the process of respiration. Therefore, all living organisms respire in order to get energy from the food. जितने भी living organism हैं, सब respiration perform करते हैं so that वो energy generate कर सके अपने body के अंदर. And ये energy कहाँ से मिलता है? From the food that they take in. So during breathing, what do? We breathe in air. And you all know that the air we take in are rich in oxygen. And when we are breathing out, the air which is given out is rich in carbon dioxide. So the air which we breathe in is transported to all the parts of the body, and finally it reaches the cell. Okay, जो भी हम एयर इनहेल कर रहे हैं, इसमें ऑक्सीजन प्रेजेंट होता है, और ये ऑक्सीजन हमारे हर एक बॉडी पार्ट में ट्रांसपोर्ट होगा by blood. Okay, remember, it is transported by blood. And then ultimately it reaches the cell. Now, in the cell, ये oxygen जो हमें air से मिला है, it will break down the food. Okay, जो हमने खाना खाया, ये break down होता है by the oxygen. Okay, in the presence of oxygen in order to give us energy. So ये जो process है, this process of breakdown of food in the cell in order to release the energy is called as cellular respiration. और इसे हम cellular respiration क्यों कह रहे हैं? It is because this process takes place in the cells of an organism. That's why it is called as cellular respiration. Okay, so what we have learned about respiration, it is a process by which a food is broken down in the presence of oxygen in order to provide energy in our body. I hope it is clear to everyone. In the cell, the food, which is usually referred to as glucose, it is broken down into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen. Okay, so जो भी हमने खाना खाया है, जो भी हमारा food है, ये break down होता है in the presence of oxygen, and energy के साथ साथ carbon dioxide and water is formed. Okay, CO2 and H2O is formed. Now, when the breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, इस type की respiration को we'll call it as aerobic respiration. Food can also be broken down without the presence of oxygen. Okay, और उस type की respiration को हम कहेंगे anaerobic respiration. So there will be breakdown of food and ultimately energy is released. Food के breakdown से energy release होता है. Now, you all must know that हमारे अर्थ में ऐसे बहुत सारे लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं, जैसे कि yeast. For example, there are yeast. They can survive in the absence of air. उन्हें ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है in order to respire. Okay, and such organisms we call them as anaerobes. Okay, they are called as anaerobes. They can survive in the absence of oxygen. So they will get their energy through anaerobic respiration. So in the absence of oxygen, agar oxygen available nahi hai, they will break down this glucose into alcohol and carbon dioxide along with generating energy. Okay, so same thing, energy is released, but in the absence of oxygen. And energy के साथ और क्या-क्या form होता है? There is a formation of alcohol and there is a formation of carbon dioxide. Remember, in aerobic respiration, there was formation of carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so this is the basic difference between aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration में there is formation of alcohol and carbon dioxide. Aerobic respiration में there is a formation of carbon dioxide and water. Now let us learn more about yeast. So yeast are single-celled organisms. Okay, single-celled organisms matlab unicellular organisms, the organisms that are made up of just a single cells, one cell. Okay, uni matlab one. So they respire anaerobically. Anaerobically means they respire in the absence of oxygen. And in this process, they will generate alcohol. They will make alcohol. And now this alcohol is used for making wine and beer. Now, do you all know, although we take in oxygen and we perform aerobic respiration, but there are situations where we also respire anaerobically. Yes, like for example, when we are doing exercise or when we are running. उस टाइम पे हमारे जो मसल सेल्स होते हैं उन्हें ऑक्सीजन सफिशिएंट अमाउंट ऑफ ऑक्सीजन नहीं प्रोवाइड हो पाता है सो इन दैट मोमेंट muscle cells starts to respire anaerobically. Okay, so our muscle cells can also respire anaerobically, but only for a short period of time. स्पेशली तब जब हमारे मसल सेल्स को ऑक्सीजन की बहुत जरूरत हो. Okay, there is a temporary deficiency of oxygen. Like for example, during heavy exercises, when we are running fast, when we are cycling, walking for many hours, or when we are lifting weight, the demand for energy is really high. And since हमारे muscle cells को enough oxygen नहीं मिल रहा है, so our body will start respiring anaerobically. So the supply of oxygen to produce this energy, since it is limited, the anaerobic respiration will take place and it will fulfill the demand of energy. Okay, so during such situations only, हमारे जो muscle cells हैं, वो food को break down करते हैं in the absence of oxygen. And उस time पे क्या formation होता है product का? There is a formation of lactic acid. Okay, lactic acid along with generation of energy. Aerobic respiration में carbon dioxide and water produce होता है हमारे body में, but anaerobic respiration जब भी हमारा body के muscle cells perform करते हैं, there is a formation of lactic acid. Okay, I want you all to remember this. Now, let me tell you another very interesting thing about lactic acid. You all must have observed that whenever we are running or whenever we are doing heavy exercise, उसके बाद हमारे muscles में थोड़ा सा cramp feel होता है, right? You all must have observed that there is some certain kind of pain in our muscles. So this cramp usually occurs because our muscle cells have respired anaerobically. And जब हमारे जो muscle cells में anaerobic respiration होता है, तो जो glucose है, वो partially break down होता है. Partially मतलब complete breakdown नहीं हुआ है glucose का. And ये जो incomplete breakdown है glucose का, इसके वजह से lactic acid produce हुआ. अब जब lactic acid हमारे muscle cells में accumulate हो जाता है, ये कॉज करता है मसल क्रैम्प्स. ओके, एक्यूमुलेशन ऑफ लैक्टिक एसिड. जब बहुत सारा लैक्टिक एसिड जमा हो जाता है हमारे मसल सेल्स में, दिस लीड्स टू द फीलिंग ऑफ मसल क्रैम्प्स. सो वी गेट relief from these cramps after we take hot water bath or when we massage that area. Okay, now can you guess why so? It is because hot water bath or massage improves the circulation of blood in that area. As a result, जो supply है oxygen का वो increase हो जाएगा उस area में, and the muscle cell will start to respire aerobically again. So the increase in the supply of oxygen results in complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. जैसे ही oxygen मिलेगा, lactic acid break down करेगा. Okay, so lactic acid is going to break down in order to form carbon dioxide and water. So we have learned about respiration, कि respiration क्या होता है. So इस process में food is completely broken down and energy is released. Okay, and this is taking place in our cells, so we call it as cellular respiration. We have also learned that these are of two types. Respiration is of two types: aerobic, that takes place in the presence of oxygen, or anaerobic, that takes place in the absence of oxygen. Now let's talk about breathing. Okay, so ये topic start होता है with activity 6.1. So you have to do this activity under the supervision of your teacher. Let's learn about it. So what you have to do is you have to close your nostrils. What are nostrils? Now these holes in your nose are called nostrils. Okay. So we have to close a nostril as well as a mouth. Okay. हमें अपना नाक और मुंह दोनों बंद करना है, and we have to look at our watch कि हम कितने देर तक अपने सांस को होल्ड करके रख सकते हैं. So what did you feel after some time? I am sure you all must have that feeling of suffocation, right? So how long were you able to keep both of them closed? Of course, ये different individual के लिए different timing होगा, but I'm pretty sure that you all will not be able to hold your breath for a longer period of time. So you can note down your observation, and you can compare it with your friends as well. So now you know that you cannot survive for long without breathing. So what is this process of breathing? So breathing means taking in the air, which is rich in oxygen, and giving out air, which is rich in carbon dioxide. And this occurs, ये जो process है, ये होता है with the help of respiratory organs. Okay, so we breathe in oxygen rich air, we breathe out carbon dioxide rich air, and this entire process involves respiratory organ. So this process of taking in the air, which is rich in oxygen, is called as inhalation. जब हम सांस अंदर लेते हैं, इस process को हम inhalation कहते हैं. And when we give out the air, when we exhale out, that is called as exhalation. And this is a very continuous process. Okay, हम कभी भी breathe करना stop नहीं करते हैं, even if we are sleeping, right? We are breathing continuously all the time throughout our life. So breathing is a continuous process, and we are breathing throughout our life. Not only us, all the living organisms, they breathe throughout their life. Now, the number of times a person breathe in a minute, एक मिनट में हम कितना सांस ले सकते हैं, जितना normally हम जितना सांस लेते हैं, that is called as the breathing rate. So during breathing, inhalation and exhalation takes place alternatively. एक बार inhale करेंगे, एक बार exhale करेंगे. That means एक बार हम सांस अंदर लेंगे, एक बार बाहर छोड़ेंगे, right? So एक breath will consist of one inhalation plus one exhalation. एक बार inhale करना और फिर exhale करना will form one breath. Okay, let's continue now. Would you like to find out your breathing rate? Do you want to know whether it is constant or it changes according to the requirement of oxygen by the body? So, first of all, if you want to know your breathing rate, you can do that easily. We can close our nose and the mouth, and we can find out what is a. So would you like to find out your breathing rate? So what you need to do is you need to just count how many breaths you are taking, and you have to take a look at your watch for at least a minute. Okay, 1 minute में हम कितना सांस लेते हैं, that will be your breathing rate. Do you want to know whether it is constant or it changes according to the requirement of oxygen in the body? So our breathing rate keeps on changing. When we are sleeping, our breathing rate is low. Okay. I'm giving you some examples. When we are running, our breathing rate is really high. Okay, when we are doing some physical activities, उस time पे हमारा breathing rate high रहता है, but when we are just relaxing, that time our breathing rate is low. So it is not constant. हमारा breathing rate vary करता है, and it is because of the requirement of oxygen by the body. जब हम physical activity करते हैं, हमारी body को ज़्यादा oxygen चाहिए to produce more amount of energy. इसी के लिए the breathing rate is high, and as a result, more energy is generated. So we are going to find out this by performing an experiment. Let's look at this activity 6.2. Generally, we are not aware that we are breathing, right? हमें मतलब daily पता भी नहीं चलता कि हम सांस ले रहे हैं. We are just doing it. It's not under a control also. However, if you try, you can count the rate of your breathing. Breathe in and out normally. Just relax yourself and breathe in and out normally. Find out how many times you breathe in and breathe out in a minute. Did you inhale the same number of times as you exhaled? Now, count your breathing rate. That is number of breaths per minute after a brisk walk and after running. Okay, so हमें normally अपने breathing rate को measure करना है. Then walk करने के बाद हमारा breathing rate कितना है वो हमें note करना है. And lastly, running करने के बाद हमारा breathing rate कितना है हमें ये note करना है. So we have to record our breathing rate as soon as we finish all these three activities and also have rest. After complete rest, up breathing rate kitna hai, we have to make a note of that also. So we can tabulate these findings and we can compare the breathing rates under different conditions and also with your friends. So from this activity, you all should realize this, that whenever a person needs extra energy, जब भी हमें ज़्यादा energy की ज़रूरत पड़ती है, at that time, the person will breathe faster. Okay. So whenever we need more energy, okay, so our breathing rate will be more. Okay. As a result, more oxygen is supplied to our cells. It speeds up the breakdown of food and more energy is released. Okay, as we have already discussed, जब हम ज़्यादा जल्दी सांस लेते हैं, तो जो हमारा ऑक्सीजन का रिक्वायरमेंट है वो इंक्रीज हो जाता है हमारे बॉडी में और ज्यादा जल्दी फूड break down hota hai and there will be more energy that will be released. And this is the reason why do we feel hungry after physical activity, because we are breathing faster and this oxygen supply, the increase in the oxygen supply is going to break down the food faster. Okay, food is broken down and as a result energy is released and now our body requires more fresh supply of energy, that is food. Okay, so when you feel drowsy, does your breathing rate slow down? Of course, you all must have observed that whenever we are feeling drowsy, हमारा breathing rate कम हो जाता है. Does your body receive sufficient oxygen? So at that time, your body is not receiving sufficient oxygen. And that is the reason we start to yawn. Okay, so why do we yawn? It is because we take in more oxygen. हमारे lungs को तब ज़्यादा ज़रूरत पड़ती है oxygen की, fresh supply of oxygen की, ताकि food break down हो and we are provided with energy. Okay, so whenever we are feeling feel like yawning, it is one of the way by which the body takes in more oxygen and supplies us with a constant supply of energy. On an average, an adult human at rest breathes in and out 15 to 18 times in a minute. Okay, just for 15 to 80 times, जब भी हम rest में होते हैं, हमारा breathing rate काफी कम रहता है. It is 15 to 18 times only. Now, during heavy exercise, the breathing rate can increase up to 25 times per minute. While we exercise, not only we breathe faster, we also breathe deeper. Okay, we take deep breaths and as a result, we inhale more oxygen. Again, same process, ज़्यादा ऑक्सीजन हम यूज करेंगे तो हमारे बॉडी के सेल्स को ज्यादा ऑक्सीजन मिलेगा एंड इससे जल्दी जल्दी हमारे बॉडी के फूड ब्रेक डाउन होंगे टू प्रोवाइड अस विथ मोर एनर्जी. ये सब एनर्जी के लिए होता है. ओके, टू प्रोवाइड अस विथ एनर्जी. नाउ बुजू हैज अ वेरी interesting situation. Buju noticed that when he released his breath after holding it for some time, he had to breathe heavily. Can you tell him why is it so? ये है कि जब हम अपने सांस को होल्ड करके रखते हैं, जब अपने ब्रेथ को हम होल्ड करके रखते हैं, अब बॉडी isn't deficient of oxygen. Okay, there is a constant need of oxygen in our body. So when Bhuju will release his hand and he will start to breathe, he will start breathing heavily so that oxygen is supplied to his body and he can meet up with the oxygen intake in order to produce energy, in order to supply energy to his body. ओके जब हम सांस होल्ड करके रखते हैं हमारे बॉडी में डिफिशिएंट हो जाता है ऑक्सीजन का, हमारे बॉडी में ऑक्सीजन की बहुत जरूरत है, दैट्स व्हाई वी आर ब्रीदिंग कॉन्स्टेंटली, राइट। तो जब भी हम अपने सांस को बंद करके रखेंगे हमारे बॉडी में ऑक्सीजन की डिफ्यूशन हो जाती है, इसीलिए जैसे ही हम सांस लेना स्टार्ट करते हैं हम जल्दी जल्दी सांस लेते हैं ताकि जल्दी से हम ऑक्सीजन लेवल को कवर अप कर पाए, हमारे बॉडी को ऑक्सीजन अच्छे से मिल पाए एंड वी आर अगेन सप्लाइड विथ एनर्जी इन ऑर्डर टू डू वेरियस काइंड ऑफ वर्क। Let's look at activity 6.3. In figure 6.3, there are various activities that are being carried out by person during normal day. Can you say in which activity the rate of breathing will be slowest and in which it will be fastest? Assign the number of numbers to the pictures in order of increasing rate of breathing according to your experience. So this is very interesting. So we are having some pictures over here. So first of all, let us understand amongst this individuals, किसका breathing rate सबसे slow रहेगा और किसका सबसे ज़्यादा रहेगा. Okay. So I can see there is a person sleeping over here. Then there is a woman who is washing utensils. There is a boy studying, reading. Then there is a man climbing the ladder. Okay, climbing. There is a old man who is taking a walk. And lastly, there is a girl. I think she is running. She is doing some exercise. Okay. So whose breathing rate will be the slowest? So of course, the individual which is sleeping will have the slowest breathing rate. And the girl who is running, she will be having the fastest breathing rate. Now let's arrange them in the increasing order of their breathing rates. So the person who is sleeping, सबसे कम उसका heartbeat होगा, सबसे कम उसका heart breathing rate होगा. Let's not talk about heartbeat. Breathing rate सबसे कम होगा. Next, the person who is studying, because we are not doing any kind of physical activity, the boy who is studying, उसका भी breathing rate कम होगा. Next, the woman, she is washing utensil. Not much of hard work is required. So her breathing rate will be comparatively more than other two individuals, but less than the person who is walking or climbing or running. Next, the person who is climbing, like normal climbing में थोड़ा सा heart rate, breathing rate बढ़ता है. Then comes walking. And finally, the person who is running, the girl who is running will have the highest breathing rate. Okay. So we have learned quite a lot of things today. So in the next video, we will be learning about how do we breathe. And this is going to be very interesting. So I hope you all have understood till here. Going to meet you all very soon. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.